This conference will now be recorded.
Good morning, everybody. I'm excited to see so many people on this coffee talk. I'm Judy Wright. I'm an enrolled member of the San Pasqual Band of Mission Indians. I'm also the Vice President of Human Resources at Valley View Casino here in San Diego, California, where it's about to get up to 80 degrees today. This winter is crazy because one day it's 40 and next day it's 80. I have been in HR for over 40 years with 21 years in tribal gaming, and I am so excited to hear this. You know, we've all had, this presentation, we've all had some challenges these past 2 years. So putting a strategy for your 2022 plan is going to be crucial. Just a little bit about NAHRA. NAHRA has been in existence for 26 years. We're actually celebrating our 25th annual conference in Hawaii. So if you haven't signed up, and do so, there's plenty of time. And also the 26th anniversary will be in September for San Antonio. We're actually having 2 conferences this year because of our lovely COVID. NAHRA is a nonprofit organization. Everything that we receive financially goes right back into the organization to provide benefits and such as this coffee talk to all of you. And we have 7 board members who are all working for tribal governments or their entities, and we all work on a volunteer basis. So our passion for HR is very evident. So again, great seeing all of you, and hope to see you guys at the conference.
I'd like to take it over to, I believe, Dorothy is on our call.
Yes, good morning. Welcome. I'd like to welcome everybody. It's good to see this group, and I'm looking forward to this subject. My name's Dorothy Sear. I'm a board member, been a board member since 2016, and I've been in human resources for coming up on 16 years next week. So I'm excited. I work here at Wild Horse Resort and Casino as the employment manager, and I oversee recruitment, so this topic is especially interesting to me. So I look forward to seeing. I hope you can all make it to Hawaii or San Antonio, and look forward to seeing you all there. And I hope you all have a good day today.
Thank you, Dorothy. I believe I saw Azadeh. Are you available, Azadeh, to say hello?
Good morning, everybody. It's very good to see you all. Thank you for joining us. Very excited to be here. I don't know about you guys, but we've been dealing with our own recruiter issues and trying to find candidates to fill these amazing jobs we have at our tribal entities. So I will keep this short, and it's good to see you all.
Great. And then I also wanted to introduce and put a name to a face. Her name is Barbara Griffin. I think she's around here somewhere. She is in member services. So for everyone that has any questions and regarding your NAHRA membership, any questions with THRP, Barbara Griffin is on the line. Do you want to say hello, Barbara, so people can put a face to your name?
Northwest. I'm over here in the top right-hand corner. Well, top left-hand corner for me. I'm sitting beside Janet, I think. I just wanted to say good morning, and it's a pleasure to be associated with NAHRA. I spent some time as a board member when I worked directly in Indian country for an enterprise, and I've had the good fortune of being able to continue on and work with NAHRA in a different capacity for several years. I just wanted to draw your attention. We have 60 people on this coffee this morning. So we'll all be caffeinated and it'll be great. And so I just thank you and have a great day.
Great. Thank you so much, Barb. Tim, the floor is all yours.
Thank you, Janet. And first, I want to thank the entire NAHRA team for inviting me to present. But more importantly, I want to thank the entire NAHRA board and community for the warmth and welcoming that you've given me into the association. You've been wonderful partners and guides as it relates to specific human resource issues for tribal entities, tribal government, economic development, healthcare, casino, hospitality, law enforcement, teaching, and a wide variety of other categories. So I appreciate it so very, very much. Thank you. And that all said, let's get started on looking at your 2022 Recruiter Toolkit. So our agenda today is to cover a couple elements: data, destination, message, and strategy. As Janet mentioned, I have 26 years in the industry, many of them on the agency side, many of them client direct, as well as in new tech, SaaS development, and a wide variety of media, job board, and board membership roles over the course of the years. But as we can see here, data, destination, message, and strategy are all going to be vital for your 2022. And if I could just jump in for 1 sec, if you haven't already muted, if you could do that for me, that'd be great. Only so we can keep the background noise down a bit. So if you're not familiar with the organization I work with, NAS, I'll just cover it really quick, is a recruitment marketing agency. We have a specialty in optimizing candidate attraction through storytelling, technology, and strategy. We've been in business 75 years. This is our 75th anniversary this year. So we are sharing those anniversaries with NAHRA. We work across a wide variety of industries. Our storytelling element covers all things brand, research, creative services, and working with in-house marketing and tech teams to implement. The technology element is a wide variety of infrastructure elements to enable your ATS to be the candidate tool you want it to be. And strategy is all things digital, media, and the arrangements to get your story to market. This is a collection of some of NAS's current clients. So let's discuss first, we were talking about this just before this all started. Let's discuss sort of where we're at as an industry. And I mentioned this to Margaret as we were talking. I feel like I'm screaming from the rooftops about where we're currently at. But if you're a recruiter, you know how bad it is. For everyone else, trust us, it's bad. A terrific example of just how bad it is on January 3rd, there were 4,600 recruiter jobs posted to LinkedIn, implying that within that 24-hour period, organizations are attempting to hire 5,000 recruiters. There were 16,000 recruiter jobs posted on Indeed in the same 24-hour period. Businesses know we're up against it, and they're trying to support by bringing in the reserve. Statistically and sort of current status that we were going over with Margaret again prior to beginning, we were focusing most on what she is experiencing within healthcare. But January proved to be a really unique surprise in that we got 467,000 net new jobs, but we're still working against critically low unemployment and high workforce participation levels. So to summarize some of those stats, everyone who wants a job, has a job, is looking for a job, and or is moving to a new job. I continue to say that August 2021, between COVID's Delta strain and Omicron's emergence, was our new baseline within the industry. There just aren't more people. We have categorically low amount of people who can actually fill these roles. We're in a dip. There's a demographic birth dip from 20 to 30 years ago, and almost 1 million people have perished from COVID. So not even taking into consideration the long haul COVID issues that are going to evolve, and the tight immigration limits we have on work visas for outside potential employees within the United States, we're really up against difficult numbers. If you've never looked into sort of the demographic analysis of different generations, this is showing us where that dip occurs. And it's really fascinating to see sort of the insights for the different generations of employees, as well as how to reach them, manage them, and all. But it's also really indicative of why you're having trouble finding employees right now. So almost all of the builder generation is retired and not working. Baby boomers are easing into the workforce, but COVID was easing out of the workforce, sorry. But COVID has pushed many of them to retire early. Margaret and I were talking about the fact that we both know people within the industry who have moved out, people within nursing, people within a variety of other high stress occupations that have chosen to retire early versus continuing to work. I'd mentioned within my social group, I know 15 people specifically who have retired early over the last 2 years. And I know 3 people who in theory should be active within the workforce currently, but are suffering from long haul COVID issues, and quite honestly may never return to the workforce. Data is our first tool, because if you don't know your numbers, you can't track improvement or decline. And trust me, everyone you work with wants to be able to track the gains or challenges you're experiencing from 2022 and beyond. Data is also important because it proves your and your team's value to your organization. In many, many case scenarios, I'll be talking with partners or clients, and we'll hear that they don't feel as though they have a place at the table when it comes to budgeting and the like. And being able to track and prove your data is really the most vital aspect of being able to illustrate all of that. KPIs are key performance indicators. And I just want to cover a couple that are the most important KPIs for you to be tracking as a recruiter currently. First, application conversion. Where in your application process, whether it be ATS or within your career site, et cetera, where are you experiencing the highest drop-off rate? Is it something you, your IT team, your marketing team, who can help you with that, correcting that speed bump within the process? Time to fill is number 2. Time to fill is the movement from each step in the application process to target time delays and improve processing. Most organizations track in days time to fill. Home Depot, which I know in many, many case scenarios has come up as a competitor for the food and bev space, retail, hospitality, and casino employment opportunities, has just now started tracking this figure in hours. So their time to fill for their 100,000 employees that they're bringing on for their spring push is now being tracked in hours. So picture how radical a change that is. They've moved to 24-hour offer goals for candidates. And I know that many, many of you struggle with A and B gaming license delays and the like with background checks, but this is your competition. And it's really vital to know sort of what you're up against. And they are focusing on a 24-hour offer window for their hourly and management roles. Third, most important KPI is mobile versus desktop. You need to develop strategies for both based upon the averages to convert on each device, as well as which roles are converting better on which device. We note that over 90% of candidates who apply for hourly roles begin their application on a mobile device. So knowing that breakdown and how to focus those positions is really imperative. Another of the KPIs is media spend analysis, more often known as cost per application or cost per hire. understanding where your money is spent and how to improve delivery, as well as to lower costs and increase the results, is really a minimum that you should be sharing internally with your group and knowing that data on a day-to-day basis. Couple more, we have candidate source, sort of self-explanatory, what source works, what doesn't. That allows you to focus on saving money and recruiters' time based upon being able to track quality versus quantity. Last I have is career page conversion. Is the content on your career page engaging to move candidates through the funnel? As you can see, some of these are non-traditional, but it's imperative to know that in 2021, the cost per application increased 43% across the industry. Costs per click for advertising increased 54%, and apply rates increased just 3%. So take all of that into consideration. All of these attraction and engagement options are increasing in price, yet the apply rates are only inching up ever so slightly. So, again, back to what I was addressing earlier, we have a problem, and it's imperative that we be able to measure and improve our data so that we can determine sort of what we're doing best, what we need to improve, all of those things. Your data should be able to give you a deep dive into your vendor provided reporting. As an organization, we deal with vendors a ton, and I know that you likely do as well, but it's imperative that you really push those organizations to get the most amount of data out of them that you can. I constantly talk to organizations who say, my job board won't give me apply rates, or they won't tell me my click-through rates, or they won't, you are paying them for a service. You really need them to give you back the data necessary as part of what you're doing so that you can compare those figures and really track your results. That all allows you the ability to look at your spending and take control of it across your team's media spectrum. Part of the hard work that we are all doing right now is to chart your media future. It's time to take a portion of your media spend and experiment with it. Because as we continue to see, in the fall of last year, I had organizations reach out saying, listen, we need to engage an agency like yours because the spending on some of our sites is out of control, yet we don't know how to rein it in without losing the candidate flow that we currently have. And we were able to work with them to get the data necessary that they needed to be able to make the tweaks and improvements to what they're doing. So when you're experimenting, often it is easiest to find areas where you are doing well organically. And organic should translate here into not sponsored. Take some of the monies from the sponsored roles within that area and transfer it over to different media outlets that you might not be using right now. So in the event that your hourly roles within Indeed are doing very well organically, you could take some of the additional funds that you might be using to sponsor other roles on Indeed and transfer that over to the likes of Snag-a-Job, ZipRecruiter, or the like, to experiment in those areas and see what you can generate from that outlet. So if you aren't already, 2022 is really the time to target your media spending by job family or location. And by job family, I mean the likes of food and bev within a casino, or the likes of security within a casino, and categorize those and begin the process of looking at your historic traction within some of the media outlets and determining where and what works best for you. Many times we are able to increase the amount of volume for applies without increasing media spend, just by diversifying that media mix, the outlets that you're using for that. So organizations should be able to, your vendor organization should be able to share with you a bit of anonymized data and tell you where you're getting the best traction, etc. So, what might be good for Snag a Job in Atlanta might not work for Indeed in Detroit or the like. You should really be looking at spreading out and really diversifying where those funds are being spent. In analyzing the history, you're attempting to improve the qualitative applications. That doesn't always mean greater cost. Trust me, sometimes it is just the process of using a different media outlet than you currently are. So I want to show just sort of an analysis of what we're able to determine for you and what you're able to see from some of the tracking that you should be able to gather. Here's a great example of the types of analysis we're able to pull from media vendors, and you should be able to track a lot of these elements as well on your end. Get this data from your media outlet vendors. Don't take no for an answer. Remember, you're paying them for these services and they should be able to deliver them to you. We look also at what we're able to deliver and drive via pipeline for organizations. This pipeline data can be extracted from both media side and then matched with your internal or your client side career site traffic to analyze successes and those speed bumps along the way. Campaign success. Of course, your goal is to spend less per application. I mean, that sort of goes without saying. But in this graph, you can see how we track the total amount of spend as well as the cost of completed application. And then later, in the event that you're able to track to hire, you can be determining really where you're getting the most bang for your buck. Some of this tracking is enabled through working with ATSs and IT teams to add tracking pixels to the process. But in many case scenarios, these should be things that vendors are able to provide you as well. So number 2 in our toolkit is destination. Destination is where you are driving your candidates, whether that's a careers page within your website or a custom landing page for the likes of seasonal hiring or new initiatives like expansions, etc. Common career site problems that we see frequently that organizations are able to change internally by taking initiative are some of the greatest challenges with partners we see, and at times some of the hardest to address unless you're using something like our Activate platform. That is easy to implement and make fixes. Often the sites bring together your marketing team and your IT team and your ATS, and all of those things together end up being a challenge for you and your team to manage, because your goal should be recruiting, not having to sort of manage these exterior media options. But that said, many partners come to us specifically because it's almost impossible for you to solve and juggle all of these issues within your organizations. We're able to do it as an outside entity because it ends up being easier for someone to make those suggestions externally versus sort of, create challenges within to get them done. The biggest aspect of what we look at is limited search engine optimization. Most career sites are nearly crippled by the ATS. Your ATS has a limited job level search engine optimization because it's built to keep your candidate data safe and secure. They all do that. They all do it very well. But unfortunately, all of that security puts all of your jobs behind a firewall and tons of layers. So you really don't have the benefit of getting organic, for example, search engine optimization from that tool. You really have to build it in and have that be a separate initiative that you're taking care to focus on. Poor candidate experience is number two. Many career sites lack any information for candidates who are doing their own research prior to chatting with a recruiter. Think of the amount of applications that are happening outside of traditional business hours. Those are times when a candidate can't reach you. And do you really want to be fielding individual phone calls from candidates talking about your 401k and the like? Building that information into your website so that candidates can do that research and discover it on their own and draw them further into the process is really, really vital. Websites, career sites, having no measure of success is a challenge. Do you have analytics capabilities that measure not only to the apply action, but also to hire? This is often done, as I mentioned, in collaboration with incorporating tracking pixels and the like. You need to take advantage of this option ASAP so that you can begin really determining where, again, you're getting the most value out of your investment and where some of the greatest drop-off is happening within your site. Lack of strategic execution and poor mobile response are our last two. If you think of strategic execution, really look at your site as a candidate, not as an HR professional. Think of it as an hourly employee coming to the site for the first time, experiencing it for the first time. Grab someone who fits your target demographic for those roles. Grab someone from the organization who is already working within those roles to ask them where some of their challenges were in applying. Similarly, you really, really need to test your website on a regular basis. I beg you. Test it on new phones, Androids, old phones, Apple products, tablets, and the like. You really can't imagine the amount of challenges that are being experienced by candidates because of poor mobile responsive design. While on your site, this is a trick that we use internally to determine sort of how sites will render. If you press the function key and F12 simultaneously, it will show you how your website is going to move from laptop to how it will render on a mobile device. And you'll be blown away by how this changes your whole perspective on your website. You'll be able to test it and test all the way through to and applying through your ATS. It's imperative to say that I've reached out to many of you to share concerns about your mobile experiences. In many cases, I have actually left voicemails, emails in relation to broken links in the process. So those kinds of things really indicate that no one is testing the application process on a regular basis. I recognize that I'm a vendor to the space, but if I call and leave a voicemail message saying, or even attach images of broken links within your site, please, please, please look into it. I'm just saying, similar to Janet, this is such a passion of mine that I hate to see wasted money or broken process. And in many cases, that's why I reach out, just so that you know that this is going to be a stumbling block for your candidates. In many cases, it's easily fixed. So I beg you to test and make sure that the process is working well for you. There's no point in pushing candidates forward to your site if they literally can't get all the way through the application process. You're both wasting money as well as creating an angry candidate, which is unfortunate. Here's an example I'll go through really quickly of some before and after website work that we've done. This is with University of Texas, MD Anderson Cancer Institute. So we'll look at their before. And on the before, you'll see at the top, there's no careers real estate on the page. You really have to lobby your tech and marketing teams to give you a jobs button, a careers button, an employment button, whatever you're going to label it, you have to have that towards the top of your page. There was also no branding within a huge image area. You know, yikes, again, wasted real estate for this organization. Again, this is the before. Candidates are looking at sites and thinking, what's in it for me? What is keeping them interested? You have to put all of that front, center, and make it easy to read. This was our interim site that we created for them as we were building out a longer term process. You can see how much cleaner and better this was all laid out. It's really night and day to you know, what had been developed, and the changes within the numbers really prove to us what we were able to do in the long process. You can see that there was a 60% increase on completed applies when we looked year over year after making changes to their website. And you're really doing your team a disservice if you're not incorporating these kinds of changes, increases in measurements into what you're doing. You want to be able to determine and really push forward the highest yield, the highest return. It doesn't stop there. Although you've seen positive impact on the data and perspectives, we're constantly reviewing, tweaking, and improving their process. This was a bit of one of the services that we provide also to organizations is website heat mapping. Website heat mapping is a tool that gives you the ability to track how candidates engage with your career site, which pages and content were the most popular and of greatest interest. What we found with MD Anderson is that they had a ton of interest in their job search section and in their additional opportunities scroll area. However, only about 25% of their traffic was actually making it to the bottom of the page, where they highlighted their greatest achievements. So there was an opportunity to move and shift some of that content up so that it would catch eyes and be more visually appealing, get that traffic. We find that you're losing, and these statistics are daunting, you're losing between 10 and 15% of your traffic with each click in your application process. Each scroll is costing you somewhere in the range of 20% of your traffic. So you really need to think about that and audit your process. This is what we built out for them for their newest site. This is what it looks like currently. This is today's site. This ensures that all of the achievements and accolades that they've received are put front and center and located above the need to scroll, as well as we were able to open up the job search area and include more job categories. Because of the additional opportunities button being moved, we were able to put that towards the top of the click section as well. We're able to move candidates' eyes and their process around so that they weren't scrolling as much and we weren't losing as much traffic. So that ends up being really valuable. As I mentioned, we really have to keep in mind the mobile experience. Keep in mind that not every ATS is mobile friendly, and several organizations that people work with outsource their mobile design. And because of the outsourced mobile design, it lacks the cohesion, and the ease of use is really rough when they're trying to force those two things together. We keep all of that tech design in-house so that we're able to ensure that the transition from looking at the site to ATS apply, all of those things runs and is very smooth. As I mentioned, each pinch, scroll, swipe is costing you traffic, so it's fundamental that you audit that process. Part of what we do as part of that process is provide competitor assessments. So we will go through for an organization, talk with you about who two of your competitors are, develop out sort of an assessment of what you're doing in the space, as well as MC reporting about the employment marketplace that you're up against. Number 3 tool is message. Storytelling is one of the most important aspects that we can really bring to 2022. I was talking with Margaret in relation to some of the elements that she is dealing with in healthcare recruitment, and we see often that storytelling is a solve to some of them. I'm looking real quick just to take a moment to look at some of the questions that have come up. Ozdays reacting to 24-hour goals, the function F12, that will be very popular, I'm sure, after this call. Can you tell us again how to test how websites look? Oh, I'm sorry. Again, that's the function and F12 key. And I suggest, honestly, that you go through your entire process once you have done that so that you're able to see what that looks like. So back to storytelling. I apologize, just jumping back and forth there, sort of doing some maintenance. The important aspects of messaging are really the branding and the storytelling of what it is for a candidate. Again, what's in it for me as a candidate? Recruitment is a really unique message that's often very difficult for consumer-facing marketing teams to wrap their head around. That is no slight against anyone's marketing team. I'm just saying that often the skills that allow you to market, a restaurant, for example, are not the same skills that allow you to draw a candidate in through story within your website. So often you will need to serve as a guide to your marketing team in relation to what is being built out. One of the most important things that we talk to partners about on a regular basis is the ability to research across several employment families. Do your own research. This is your discovery process. You want to know why recent hires came to work for you. What do senior members of your team say about why they stay? What drew them in at a different point in the process? And then you need to attempt to cobble together a message that works for the greatest percentage of the new members of your team that you're seeking. Know that sometimes you have to do these things in stages because of timelines and budgets. You need to be flexible in relation to that. You often need to look at your competitors' messages. My goodness, there's nothing worse than seeing that two organizations that are nearby are using a very similar recruitment message out into the space. If you don't know the message, if you didn't know your message and you don't know their message, it's very hard to determine sort of what your next step forward is. If you didn't already work at your organization, would the message out into the employment marketplace draw you in as a professional? Remember, there's no time for trite messaging at this point. There's no time to be cute. It is literally hair on fire. You have to make these improvements to be able to get the greatest amount of eyeballs and get the greatest amount of candidates through the process so that you can be hiring at ASAP. Can your message be adapted and expanded for seasonal hiring? Does it work for both hourly roles as well as salaried roles? Those are all things you need to take into consideration. Does it motivate anyone to move forward in the process, or is it simply nice to read once? If it doesn't push candidates to apply, you need to change it immediately. I have some examples of ideas that we presented to OU Med. We traditionally present more than one idea because teams often want and need to have their own input into the process, and that allows them to drive their passion forward into the messaging. Often input in those kinds of conversations is things like, we love this headline, we like that photo from a different image, we want to pull these colors in, etc. So everyone likes to have input as part of that process. And then after having presented all of those different ideas, these are OU Med's final implementations that we have took forward into the marketplace for them. Barbara asks, I wonder how many HR leaders are included in the discussion when properties are revamping their websites. I've noticed careers or employment are hidden at the very bottom of the website versus the top ribbon. Barbara, you're preaching to the choir. I mean, I lose my mind when I go to websites and careers is at the bottom, but worse is when there's an About Us option and you have to click About Us, then scroll to the bottom to find careers. It makes me crazy from the standpoint that careers is equally as vital an option moving forward as, and a necessary one to keep organizations running as any other. One of the things that we often promote organizations with developing out is brand guidelines. They are super important as part of that storytelling process so that you can share your ideas and research results with other locations, with other teams and the like. You need to set the rules for everyone to review so that everyone knows the standards moving forward. You don't want John at one organization thinking that red works better than blue when you have an entire scheme worked out in relation to the colors, or you don't want people changing fonts or things like that along the way. So having developed out brand guidelines is imperative. Another question has come in. Judy talking about how good a question Barb's is. Dorothy asks, we have a good relationship with marketing who manages the page and they're open to changes. They have created a button that pops up on our main casino page encouraging people to apply. We love an interstitial that allows organizations to attract attention and redivert candidates into careers element. So congratulations, Dorothy, you're miles ahead of the game. So strategy is another of our key components that we're talking about today. Strategy is difficult to cover in such a large group because we have such varied interests. What works for a community hiring law enforcement won't necessarily apply to an organization hiring teachers or nurses. And hospitality is sort of its own unique series of challenges because of its focus on the hourly realm. But I'll give you some overviews and some new ideas, as well as some of the standards I hope everyone is either already using or will soon implement. For my presentation in Hawaii, we will deeper dive into strategy and do best practices for each of those. So I hope you'll be able to join me there. Pay for performance really is a focus. That takes us a bit back to data from earlier, but think about it. In this case scenario, pay for performance within your job board media, you're only paying for action or traction when a candidate takes a move forward. That's vital because it allows your budget to be so much tighter, so much more efficient. You've probably heard the buzz about programmatic media buying, which uses computer-based algorithms to bid and purchase advertising space in real time. This has evolved from consumer advertising side, and really is almost a mandate within organizations these days. It's not your old set and forget strategy. Data is used to make all of the bidding and placement strategies for the ads. Programmatic delivers an incredible and outstanding return on investment. There are no individual media contracts, so you can move your spend from Indeed to Zip to Nuvu, Monster, and dozens of other targeted media without long-term contracts. It provides a much better budgeting option. Rules-based buying reduces wasted money on spends. It transitions money from positions that are getting enough applications to those that are not getting enough applications, shifting that budget so that you're getting a greater breadth of applications across. It delivers in-depth analytics. In many case scenarios, you're able to see terrific performance reporting that allows you to look at spend adjustments to reduce inefficient media and create improvements based on your data. It uses media intelligence to continually build upon the success to improve performance over time. You can test different strategies and make adjustments and tweaks in real time, which is super valuable. Let's look at some stats here on Google search. I know these stats are stunning, but take a moment to really absorb what they are saying about SEO and ATSs. Note that as we're looking at these stats, 90% of candidates begin their search on Google or a like search engine. If you're really not invested in search engine optimization, it's a mandate moving forward. It is critical. One of the other elements beyond these statistics that we see here is that over 90% of hourly candidates begin their search on a mobile device, making mobile design, that function F12 we mentioned earlier, vital. So if you think about it, search engine optimization is reaching 90+% of candidates, and a mobile device is where 90% of candidates are beginning their search. Display advertising is really vital, and I do see many organizations within NAHRA utilizing display ads. Not so much for recruitment. In many case scenarios, organizations are using it to drive, hotel reservations and the like. But think about the fact that you could work with marketing simply to tag the bottom of that with a banner. This organization is also hiring, click here to begin your application process, et cetera. So, similar to consumer advertising, where they're placing fast food ads or the like, these ad units are seen across the internet and drive a considerable amount of traffic to your applications. Another tool that we use on a regular basis is retargeting. Statistically, only 8.6% of career site visitors convert to apply on their first visit. So similar to what we were talking about in relation to analytics and tracking pixels, some of those tools allow your display ads to follow candidates on the internet and appear in ad units on sites that you're visiting. ESPN.com, CNN.com, all of those have ad unit sites. Very similar to shoes, coats, a couch that you didn't buy on your first visit to a consumer site. We're able to target those visitors and attempt to convert them to full candidate applies. We're also able to use that same large audience that has already expressed interest in your company's brand through visiting the website to promote positions for them as well. Social media, yes, social media and the abundance of platforms continues to increase. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, TikTok, just to name a few. But the complexity of managing these continues to increase as well, especially for recruitment brands. First, we suggest deciding what your desired outcome outcome is, if it's applies, if it's awareness, if you're looking to present yourself as an employer of choice in the region, or is it some other action? You have to build a content calendar to drive those actions along and build that calendar out as far as you can see. For example, many organizations, will have a new hotel tower opening or the like. You need to build backwards from that open to begin teasing the social media message months in advance so that you're getting candidates in the pipeline. Additionally, organizations do things like mention National Nurses Day when doing healthcare recruiting or the like, but be sure to have a call to action within that. Are you sending that audience to a landing page or to an interstitial like Dorothy was mentioning earlier? And how is that all affecting candidate applications? Again, back to data. Both organic and sponsored social media are relatively inexpensive and beneficial, but if done wrong, it can be really programmatic and hard to fix. So make certain your messaging is in line with the rest of your recruitment brand and in tune with your organization's overall marketing message. I see that we are coming up on the end here time-wise. I just want to really quick touch upon a couple things. Now that we look forward into the evolving reach of recruitment messaging, it's important to know that we have so many changing social media platforms, so many evolutions that are becoming more and more vital each day. We didn't know anything about TikTok 2 years ago. And so many organizations are seeing huge benefits from the likes of recruitment chatbots and text to apply. Additionally, we see ad units on satellite radio becoming much more important for organizations. Out-of-home media, be it cling signage for doors of your buildings, or mirrors within buildings, or billboards, or bus enclosures. I mean, all of that is coming back as the market becomes so much tighter. Yet, I think that some things that are really imperative to touch upon ever so quickly are re-mining your ATS to see what kind of data you have on hand that's equally as vital. Revisit those second place candidates who you might have passed over in the past. A simple email message out can draw in and re-engage huge portions of your candidate base that you already have in your system. That eliminates the whole need for new campaigning. You could just reach out to the individuals already in. Additionally, this is the other huge takeaway I have, and I think is so important. I've recently begun reviewing the Players Club agreements when signing up for some of the casino organizations that are within NAHRA. And I'm amazed that none of those have any limits that I have seen yet on utilizing that messaging for anything outside of Players Club. So you could be reaching out to members of your Players Club and talking with them about open opportunities, say quarterly, reaching out and saying, hey, this is our list of open jobs, look at this, share with friends, etc. I mean, granted, you don't want to abuse those lists, but those lists and, the other ones that I've mentioned to date, they really make no limits on the type of communication outreach. So that could be a huge benefit for you. And that could be a huge partnership between you, marketing, your player development to get those messages out. Assessment, finally, as I mentioned earlier, my teammates and I perform assessments for market presence similar to this on a regular basis. All it takes is for you to name your two biggest competitors, and we pull together a report, review it with you. It takes roughly 30 minutes. We deliver to you MC reports about the competitive factors within the marketplace. Often they're quite revealing, and often they're a huge and valuable asset for both TA and HR teams. Just reach out to me here, and I will get that whole process started for you. gosh, I know we've covered a ton of information all at once, but I hope that everyone got something valuable out of it and some insights. I'm going to jump into questions real quick so we can touch upon those. We are updating our tribal website, and I need a copy of this session. Oh, certainly. Laura, please feel free to reach out to me. I'll forward you the entire deck for you to share with your team. Anyone who would like a copy of the deck, reach out. Do you recommend any social media platforms to build social media calendar? Do you have recommendations? Oh, internally, Janet, we go through a process of literally building out sort of a spreadsheet of what messaging should happen when, where we're driving candidates, et cetera. So we really don't have a tool for that as much as we do internal. Dustin is saying Hootsuite, and I find Hootsuite functional for sending the messages and timing the messages out, but less so for that calendar development as it looks in the bigger scale. Does anyone else have any other questions that might be lingering? We're in the final few minutes here, and as you can see, this is really similar to Janet. This is my passion. I could talk about this all day long, and I'm hoping to have the opportunity to dive in deeper with some of you during the Hawaii conference so that we can talk about strategy and implementation, et cetera.
I have a question, Tim.
Sure.
We talked about branding, and I love that you spoke about social media, SEOs. But have you seen, and you said that we want to see this experience versus a hiring manager or myself, we want to see it through the candidate's eyes. And do you recommend the application process to be shorter? Because some people nowadays want to get on their mobile, ask a couple of questions, or are we going through the traditional questions like 5 to 6 pages on the application? What is your thought with that?
Yeah, so we do see a wide variety of organizations shrinking their application process. Even in many case scenarios, doing things like quick interest notes. So, on an interstitial or on a landing page within your website, for seasonal hiring, hey, I just want first name, last name, mobile number, email address, and we'll reach out to you about your interest. It's very important that when doing something that is a shortened process, that you determine whether or not it's a full application or whether it is a statement of interest, because in many case scenarios, there are different legal ramifications in relation to that. But we see the advent of chatbots, text to apply, all of those have become really vital as of late because there's such a lack of attention right now. People are moving so much quicker.
Awesome. Does anyone have any questions for Tim? He has his information on the screen right now as well. We will have it on the NAHRA YouTube channel, and we will have Tim's presentation on our NAHRA website.
Thank you so much, NAHRA, the board, and the entire NAHRA community for coming out and attending today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Tim. It was amazing. We can go on and on, but really want to thank you for your time today. And I hope everyone really enjoyed the session as much as I have.
I really enjoyed your time as well as the interactions. Thank you so much for all of the questions and the back and forth. Thank you. Have a great day, guys.
Thank you, everyone. Have a nice day.
Bye-bye.
Bye.